Thank you kindly, Vincenzo, for your presentation, for your paper. I have a question on a matter that the the alignment of two geologic shocks to the family. The COVID-19 pandemic, exactly a month ago, we gathered in this very room to engage on what we came to term the COVID generation, a generation that will be marked moving forward by this catastrophe. It's probably 10 million children who are mourning the loss of their parent. 10 million children the world over. This is one shock, the war in the Ukraine. This is a horrific shock. 6 million international folk, refugees, 8 million internally displaced. And the children are today at grave risk of modern human slavery. The data show that the pandemic has had a catastrophic effect on the trafficking and exploitation of children. The war, we know, has a catastrophic effect on the trafficking and exploitation of children. My question to you is, what are family associations in Europe? The Prime Minister noted, well, Italy took 100,000 families. Fantastic. Can you help us understand what family associations are doing? This is the most urgent issue facing children in the European soil today.
So, I think that also we are living in a change of era. But what we are doing now is very simple. We are working in 3 levels. The first one is vis-à-vis the European institutions to convince that the family is a resource, is not the problem, and is not the sick, but is the care of the sick. This is the first task that we want to carry out, because all the problems you kindly put in evidence can be, as the Pope said today, can be solved by the families themselves, but not by the poor families, but the families who are not poor and who constitute the communities, and the communities must host all these fragile people and families. So that's why we talk with institutions by saying that we can really be at the service even of the institution according to the subsidiary principle. This is what we do vis-à-vis the European Union and the Council of Europe. This is one. The second, we speak also inside the church, because we want to, because even in the church, sometimes what we see is that the pastors are not in the middle of the communities made up by families, but sometimes they are à côté, they are nearby the community. So we want just to say, look, now with individualism, for you it's very difficult to be in touch with families. So if, for example, for each parish, we can organize a network of family, you can have more opportunities to be in touch with families. So the families themselves, they can help each other. And on the other hand, we can also take care of the spiritual needs of the family, of the families themselves. So I think that now, as family association, we wish to inspire people to recognize, to be aware of being aware of the function of the network of families, because the individualism is everywhere, and we do not so much pay attention to the fact that the state can also, they have to keep a balance, but we have to be the first to help to be at the service of our community.
Okay, we have a number of people in the queue, so let me just mention, we have Paolo, Virgilio, Gustavo, Helen, and Anna. So, Paolo.
Thanks, Helen, and thank you, Vincenzo. Very, very important. Thank you for the work that you do, even more than the paper that you. So important. So, you know, coming from the United States and being a comparatist, comparative family law scholars and comparative family policy scholars have identified, for at least, in my knowledge, for at least 30 years, that one of the major factors explaining the differences in family policy, the kind of differences that to the detriment to the United States that Lisa Schultz was describing for us yesterday, is due in significant part because of the absence of family associations as powerful political forces and advocates in the United States relative to Europe. That's the argument that's made, that I've seen made repeatedly and not questioned. And so that leads me to sort of two questions. One question, but there's a middle question to get there. I'll be really brief. One is, why haven't they emerged in the United States? Why haven't family associations emerged in the United States? I think, as I understand it, in Europe, they emerged primarily after World War I, in part in response to the loss of life and the need to promote natality. And so there was a different experience in the United States, but that doesn't seem an adequate explanation. I don't think that sort of the libertarian and individualist streak of America helps explain it either, because we have many other kinds of community associations of mutual aid and advocacy for women, for children, for the elderly, but none for parents and none for families, at least not at a national level. So that doesn't explain. So I'm curious, why not in the United States relative to why they emerged in Europe? But the real question that that's getting to is, what can be done to foster and encourage the emergence of new family associations in the places like the United States and elsewhere in the world where they don't exist, and they don't have the kind of impact and effect that you're describing in Europe?
So, in effect, we have to say that in Europe, the experiences are quite, in France is a model, is an example, because even they have a function. They have a function, a public function. Even General de Gaulle was very much engaged in supporting the engagement of the family associations. They have a public role. And they can be a model also because, as I said, meet with you, friends, during these days, I do not represent families. I represent family associations. And this is a very big problem. There is a lack of representativity. So in France, it's not so. The president of UNAF represents Catholic families, many Catholic families. So I think in Europe we have to improve this, and also we have to consider that we cannot cannot consider family for granted. So in Italy we have formed the Famiglie because of Pierpaolo, because of the Catholic Church, but it wasn't an experience inspired by the community, because maybe they did not need it, okay? And in Germany, they have also family associations, but they are much more social workers, okay? Now we have to change also our view, departing from the representativity of the family, because no one can understand the needs of family. I think in the United States, you had so many communities, so many national communities, so many associations, and each association, maybe, I can say, the member could represent the family of the member himself. And now maybe it's not so anymore, but we have also family enterprises. the point is, no one has a global vision, and no one can think that departing from the family, we can also involve the community as a whole. So my idea, my opinion is that family associations can be present as a proposal, because now the loneliness is experienced everywhere, and it's up to people who feels that, who understand that, to set up to promote family association.
Next, Virgilio.
Excellent, Vincenzo. Thank you. I have two questions. The one is about the role of family and their associations in the federation that you run in dealing with what I see as one of the most important challenges for the Catholic Church, which is the shortage of priests. This is a sort of an emergency. In places like the Amazon, there are basically no priests available. And this is leading to a growth of Protestants, and nothing against Protestants, but especially Pentecostal ones that have big clashes with traditional indigenous peoples' cultures and rituals. And one experience, and Marcelo had a chance of visiting some of this, one experience that we had, which was very successful, was to encourage women from the community to become ministers of Eucharisty. The Amazon Synod tried to deal with that, but was not successful in terms of the married priests, which was something that was discussed at some point. But the role of women as ministers of Eucharisty in a way can fulfill part of that gap. And my question to you is whether or not this is part of your agenda globally or in Europe. And the second question is about engagement of a federation like yours in global challenges, because then can create a motivation, an additional motivation. We're talking about engaging with a global cause such as the Amazon. So I'd just like to elaborate, you to elaborate on this, the engagement of the Federation in global challenges.
Thank you very much, Virgilio. I think that these questions can be related also to Paulo's questions. What we do is to inspire the local communities to have family association. For example, in the east of Europe, they do not have any association because of historical reasons. They don't have civil society because of the communism. So we go there, we try to speak with the cardinals, archbishops, to understand, to let them understand that they have to play a role also as associations, as a family association. Because normally what they do is just to be engaged in politics. So, and when we let them understand that also the parents may have a function in order to manage the political family, the policy in general, in particular the demographic policy, they have also to learn this way of participating. But the point is, what we do, Virgilio, is to create a new awareness of the laity, because this is the point. So we are sure that the family is generative, but we have a function which is different from the function of the priest. But we need the priest, as I said. So I'm sure that if the family and with the help of the network can work together, can realize their vocation. Of course, the vocation will, the priest vocation will grow up because it's the experience of everybody. I mean, in the Christian families we can have also, I don't know what can. Okay, sorry. In the Christian families we can have also vocation. The point is we do not want to substitute anyone, and we are not a movement, family associations. They are in the diocese, they must be with the priest, and they have just to be families. Then, when you experience virtues, of course, it depends on where you are, because, for example, if you are in a little village in Abruzzo, where I was born, you can imagine that the feeling about what in Amazonia is going on is different from somebody from Milan. But the point is the generosity. When you live this, you can better understand also the question of how to serve your church, your communities, and every country can have different ways. I'm not so much interested I cannot say what you can do in Amazonia. What I can do that everything you do, you have to do through the family. This is what I can tell you, because I can just show this paradigm, and can be a paradigm also in Amazonia. In Vasto, where I was born, is something different. But the point is, this is a way of regenerating the church.